What is going on, everyone? Welcome back. Today, the leagues have rotated once again, getting us a very interesting new cup, Color Cup. This only allows water, fire, grass, and electric type Pokemon, which means that a dragon type Pokemon might just have a ton of play. Shadow Kingdra is a Pokemon that has not been available for quite some time. I think mine is actually from 2021 here. You can tell my stats are not great. It's a 1466 CP Kingdra, but it is all I have. And honestly, even though it doesn't have great stats, it is still amazing in Color Cup. If you have one, I definitely recommend you giving it a try. So let's hop into the battles and see what Kingdra can do. All right, let's get right on to game number one. Shadow Kingdra in the lead up against a Toxapex, one of the squishiest Pokemon in the meta up against one of the bulkiest here. But look at our Dragon Breath damage. That's because there is a breakpoint where if you have just a bit of attack on Kingdra, or if you're fighting a Toxapex that's not a super high rank here, you can do 3 damage per turn instead of 2, which adds up so much over time. As you can see, they're already well below half health. They get a Brine Bait instead of going for Sludge Wave, which is a crazy bait because water type damage obviously does nothing to Kingdra, but at this point I can just overpower to almost 100 energy, go for the Outrage, guarantee the knockout at this point. Octazooka would not quite be enough. They let it go, and in comes an Abomasnow. This is fantastic to see. Abomasnow is not a Pokemon that our Jumpluff wants to see, but our Toxapex, even if this thing gets a full farm down, can easily deal with it. Outrage also going to get our shield back, and these Dragon Breaths have already put them almost at a third of their HP. Kingdra taking out almost 2 Pokemon this game, in the back a Shadow Quagsire. This is exactly what our Jumpluff is meant for, able to take out all of the water types we're going to see aside from Toxapex for the most part, and probably a Stone Edge coming through here, but Jumpluff is so bulky, we can easily survive that attack here, go for an Energy Ball of our own, get a one-shot potentially against them, or get their first shield, or the second shield rather this game. Energy Ball going to end up getting shielded, it looks like, and now we can reach another one in just a second here. Opponent throwing yet another charge move. They would need both an Aqua Tail bait and then another Stone Edge after this to be able to knock us out, but I know at this point there's no way they have that much energy. Energy Ball is going to be able to get the knockout against the Shadow Quagsire, and we still have our Toxapex in the back. Looks like our opponent must have closed their app. It's going to take a second for this game to play out, but I mean, I'm not super proud of this team because it is a very, very straightforward way you play this out. You just 2-shield your Kingdra most of the time, then you win with switch advantage with Toxapex and Jumpluff in the backline. As you can see, this game, that is exactly what ended up happening here. Toxapex is just a little bit too hard to beat if you have switch advantage, same with Jumpluff, and Shadow Kingdra, one of the best Pokemon to get switch advantage with in the entire meta. Next game up against a Shadow Quagsire, Dragon Breath once again is going to tear through this thing's health. If this is running Mud Bomb, they could throw very cheap moves against us to do quite a bit of damage, but if they go for an Aqua Tail bait, then I'll know it's going to be Stone Edge and Aqua Tail. Looks like this time it is an Aqua Tail bait, a very bold bait by our opposing trainer here, and they safe swap a Golisopod. Once again, a Pokemon our entire team has so much play into. I'm going to catch an attack on our Toxapex, and X-Scissor ends up coming through and not even doing anything to us right now. Shadow Claws will start adding up over time, but our Poison Jabs are putting them dangerously low, and I know I can build up to 2 charge moves here, probably throw a Brine against this to take it out, and then throw a Brine against whatever is going to come in. They stayed in that lead matchup for quite some time, so I might not even want to let them give a farm down against our Toxapex right now. If I can knock out this Golisopod, have my Switch Clock come back up, maybe I can go for a Brine against that Quagsire, swap out again, because I'm not really scared of Quagsire. I have a Jumpluff in the backline, and I don't want to give Quagsire any more play than it already has. I go for the Brine right now. Brine is not a strong move, but it's a Shadow Quagsire. We've already got a lot of faster pressure against them. They opt to let it go, and now our Kingdra comes in, and it is met by a Toxapex. It's a great thing to bait this back out. Toxapex is a Pokemon I don't have a great answer to with our entire team, but this time going for an Octazooka bait has a 50-50 chance of getting a debuff. Looks like we do end up getting the debuff on that first move, and now I'm going to go for yet another bait. Honestly, I'm fine if they let it go, but I get a second shield and a second debuff. They are at -4, doing half of their original damage here. I reach a third Octazooka. This is not even going to be a possibility to get a debuff on this one. You can only debuff someone 4 stages. Octazooka debuffing 2 stages each time already has put this Toxapex at no damage whatsoever. We've basically taken out the entire team right now with just one Shadow Kingdra. Our opponent throwing a Brine. Did that even do any damage to us? No, not really. We end up swapping at the same time as them, and now we can Fairy Wind down this Shadow Quagsire, go for an Energy Ball against that Toxapex, and this game should be ours. You can just see how oppressive this Pokemon is. Shadow Kingdra, even matchups that shouldn't be amazing for it, like that Toxapex, its Dragon Breaths add up so much. Octazooka, if you ever get a debuff, is going to make it so they do almost nothing to you as well, and I don't even have a great Shadow Kingdra. As I showed at the start of the video, my stats kind of suck. But this Kingdra can do so much work despite not having great stats. If you have any of these Kingdras in your inventory, make sure to give it a go. Next battle, a Shadow Abomasnow in the lead. You might expect an Ice-type Pokemon here to be a terrible thing for us to see in the lead, but once again, we are not actually taking super effective damage here. Obviously, this is a Shadow Abomasnow, which means they will probably have Weather Ball. It'll start spamming out pretty quickly, but we can 2-shield our way through this, just Dragon Breath all the way down. I don't think an Octazooka would have quite been enough to knock out or draw a shield there, so I'm just going to commit to the full 2-shield farm down. Again, I'm not proud of this winning strategy, but it's the way to do it. You just tap your screen to shield your Kingdra. Sometimes you can get shields back in the lead, but Abomasnow a little bit too spammy to be able to do that. And now we have a lot of energy for the backline. We have switch advantage, and it looks like that is going to be very helpful because in comes a Kingdra. With that said, though, I don't really know if I want to give him a full farm down here because I know that our Jumpluff should be able to come in right now, get a lot of damage onto them. They've already shown their Abomasnow, so I think that that's going to be their best answer to our Jumpluff right now. I'm going to go for the Energy Ball. This is going to do quite a bit of damage to them. They're running the non-Shadow Kingdra, which I also think is a very strong pick, but not quite as powerful as the Shadow variant. They're throwing a charge move here, rather, almost certainly going to be an Outrage, right? Yeah, there's no way they would go for anything else when shields are down, and they opt to let this move probably land against them, or maybe if they're weak to Jumpluff, they'll end up shielding it. Aerial ends up getting a shield here, and now in comes a Quagsire. Non-Shadow Quagsire, looking like a pretty good thing to see in the backline. If it has Stone Edge and Aqua Tail, our Toxapex can still deal with it, and if it doesn't have Mud Bomb here, our Kingdra also probably gets a lot more damage off against them. With that said, they are going to throw a charge move here at the last second. Hopefully it's Aqua Tail, going to knock us out here. If it's going to be a Mud Bomb, which it actually is, that might make things a little bit more tricky. I know my Toxapex can survive too, but with the buff to the Mud Shot damage, the fast move pressure here from this Quagsire is actually doing quite a bit of damage to us right now, and I know our Shadow Kingdra is pretty low. It's in range of a Mud Bomb knocking us out as well. We do survive 2 charge attacks here, but yeah, I don't know if 2 brines would be enough. They end up throwing yet another charge move on CMP this time. I have a brine loaded. I'm going to knock them out with this. Well, I'm not going to knock them out. What am I even talking about? I'm going to do as much damage as I can, then I'm going to swap to my Kingdra and hope that I can reach an Octazooka here before they can reach another Mud Bomb. Let's see what's going to happen. Unfortunately, no great energy management by our opposing trainer here. They end up throwing the move, knocking out our Kingdra, and even though this matchup was looking very strong for us right now, we ended up losing it because of this interesting moveset on Quagsire. Not running Aqua Tail, instead opting as a Mud Bomb as their coverage move. Alright, well, next game here, hopefully we can win this next one. It's going to be another Mud Boy here that we're going to face off against, this time a Gastrodon, a Pokemon with quite a bit of bulk, and honestly, with the spamminess of these body slams, it does make Kingdra's life a little bit difficult. The other annoying thing here is I can't quite knock them out with Dragon Breath plus Octazooka damage before their second charge move, so I'd have to full send an Outrage if I want to get anything done with Kingdra right now. I'm going to send it here. Hopefully they're going to let it go, knowing that the Octazooka would be a very tempting bait here. But no, they do opt to shield that up and then throw the next Body Slam. At this point, this is going to be brine range for our Toxapex, so even if we need to align this into our Toxapex later on, it's not going to be the worst case scenario. But also, I just see an opportunity. If they want to give us this, I'm going to go for a full Fairy Wind down. I know that there's not a lot of things in the game, especially in this meta, that can resist both flying and grass type damage. So as long as I have a ton of energy here, even like a Talonflame or a fire type in the backline, that's generally going to be the best answer to a Pokemon like this. I should have a lot of play. In comes the next Body Slam here. They're not going to reach a third before the Fairy Wind down happens. I am well over 100 energy at this point, which does kind of suck, but still Mud Slap's doing almost nothing to us. And in the back going to be a water type and a fire type. So we have a little bit of play here with our Toxapex, but that fire type is looking to be a very big core breaker because it is also a ghost type resisting our poison type damage. With that said, I think it is a Shadow Alolan Marowak, which because of that, I might actually have a decent amount of play left. I'm going to go for the Sludge Wave here, either guarantee a shield or guarantee the knockout against the Scalicipod before taking too much more damage. They opt to let it go, makes sense, because this is going to be their win condition, just investing in Marowak right now. But Toxapex, pretty bulky, non-stab Bone Club's probably not going to knock us out in one hit, and Brian should get a shield here. We also have basically 3 charge moves on our Jumpluff, which should probably be a very good position for us to be in. I think 3 Aerial Aces should knock them out from this range. If this was the other Marowak, obviously it's not allowed in this cup, but Jumpluff would be much happier. We have 1 Aerial Ace coming through. Is this enough to knock them out in 3 hits? Aerial Ace number 1 doing quite a bit of damage. That might actually put him in range where the next 2 Aerial Aces could potentially be enough. Next one coming through. Yeah, it's going to be very close, but I think, especially after the fast move damage here, Jumpluff just taking out the Fire-type Pokemon. That farm down against the Gastrodon in the lead matchup, coming in clutch here. Jumpluff closing out the game. GG's to our opponent. Next matchup, we're going to see our Shadow Kingdra up against a Poliwrath. Okay, honestly, Kingdra's not terrible into this, but I have 2 much better answers in the backline. I'm going to swap out to my Jumpluff here, and in comes a Shadow Magnezone. Okay, Shadow Magnezone obviously is a very scary Pokemon, honestly, for our entire team, but I don't expect to see too many in this meta, so we're going to see how we can play it out. They go for a Mirror Shot bait. I knew I would have survived if they went for a full-on Wild Charge there, and they probably didn't want to debuff their defenses that early anyway, so calling the Mirror Shot is absolutely huge for us. The Energy Ball ends up doing a lot less damage than I'd like because we did end up getting that debuff on our attack stat with that Mirror Shot bait. Despite calling it properly, they ended up getting kind of bailed out with that debuff, but I end up shielding properly here with that next Wild Charge, and now Energy Ball should easily knock them out because they are at -1 with their defense, yes, compared to, like, if I average out my attack drop and their defense drop, it would be at -1 damage, more than enough to take them out here. And in comes their final Pokemon, actually, a Morpeko. This is very scary. This Pokemon can ramp up against my team if I'm not careful. I'm going to try to get a shield with an Aerial Ace bait, which it looks like we are able to get. And if they throw energy early, then I'm just going to let this go. Shadow Kingdra should be able to do enough to this Morpeko to put them into fast food farm down range for our Toxapex, or maybe even just finish it off there with our Kingdra in the first place. I know that there is that Toxapex, or not the Toxapex, the Poliwrath rather, in the backline, and because of that, our Toxapex should be in a very good spot. We don't need shields for it. All we need is this Morpeko to go away. In comes a Psychic Fangs bait, fantastic bait by our opponent, but our fast food pressure is adding up so much. I'm going to store the Octazooka here, swap out to our Toxapex now, and now I can go straight with the Charge Moves here. Sludge Wave, no reason to really bait, or maybe even I want to bait. I could bait too, because at this point, it's the fast food pressure that's going to be doing the damage. If they want to call it anyway, they could. But at this point, no reason really to go for Grinds, because I don't want to risk it. I just want to get a shield here. Morpeko is so low at this point. Oh, they go for Power Punch. That's even crazier. We have the Sludge Wave loaded. This is going to draw a shield, or potentially almost a knockout. Not a knockout quite yet. I actually want to get an extra bit of farm down here, because I knew that if I had a Charge Move here, I have a Charge Move also on my Kingdra. We can just throw 2 charge attacks and win the game that way. In comes the Brine. Even though it is debuffed, they will be forced into shielding this move, but I have my move on my Kingdra. I can swap out, go for the Shadow Octazooka. Even though it normally isn't going to knock Pokemon out, Morpeko is so low and so squishy, it should be enough to finish off the game. Alright, next game, another Poliwrath. This time a Shadow Poliwrath in the lead. Fantastic for our backline here. Kingdra can have play into it, but I'm going to swap out. I want Switch if I can help it, because I know that Toxapex into Poliwrath is just such a dominant matchup. You probably end up winning 2-0 shield matchup, or the 0-2s, I should say. So even if it takes 2 shields to get Switch, that's what I want to do. Cradily also is not the greatest answer to our Jumpluff. The main reason being that Bullet Seed doesn't do any fast food pressure, and if they're running Rock Slide instead of Stone Edge, they don't two-shot us here, meaning they need 3 charge moves, and since I have the energy lead, I have cheaper charge attacks, I should be able to flip this matchup the longer it goes on. I already landed 1 energy ball. I'm going to send the next one. Hopefully they're going to let this go and then put them either into Fairy Wind downrange, or even just range where Aerial Ace should be able to take them out here. Looks like I'm able to outpace them to the 3rd charge attack. Aerial Ace should end up knocking them out, or drawing their first shield. They are going to opt to let it go, which is fine by me. Now I have switch advantage without even having to go down any resources, but they know that Shadow Kingdra is so squishy at this point that their best bet is to get an energy advantage on this Charger Bug. I don't want this thing anywhere near my Toxapex in the backline. All I want is to fast move this all the way into range where I can Poison Jab them down later on. I don't really care about knocking out this Charger Bug as much as I do just making sure that it cannot land a discharge into my Toxapex, so we're double shielding our Shadow Kingdra once again, and once this is out of the way, our Toxapex can easily win against that Poliwrath. I'm going to throw it the last second here. They're right at their next charge move, so I want to draw a shield from them at the very least if I can. Octazooka does end up getting shielded up, and then they come in with their Shadow Poliwrath. This is fantastic because I have my Toxapex. I can probably farm them all the way down even if I didn't have the shield on their side. We'll have to see what's going to happen, though, if they want to shield the move or not. At this point, I can go straight Brine even. It doesn't matter if they call the bait, because I know Brine is going to do enough chip damage to put them into range where the next couple of Poison Jabs should be able to knock them out. And even if they do call it, they're not going to knock us out, or take us out with this Poliwrath, rather. They need to throw that discharge that they have in the backline, and once they get rid of the energy on their Charger Bug, our Shadow Kingdra could also just Dragon Breath through everything else in this game. We get the full Poison Jab down, it looks like, not before they get yet another charge move, but even if this is an Icy Wind here, it's not going to knock us out. That Charger Bug is so low, and at this point, though, I can just clear my debuff, come into Shadow Kingdra, get 4 more Dragon Breaths, put them at 1 HP, and they are nowhere near the second charge attack here. I can Poison Jab down with our Toxapex and win the game. Once again, the strategy just paying off. 2-shield Kingdra is generally the way to go. Next matchup, Shadow Kingdra against one of the best possible lead matchups here. Obviously, Incinerate doesn't do any damage. They end up coming... There is the Shadow Poliwrath again. This time, we don't even have to earn it. We end up just instantly aligning it against our Toxapex. And the best thing about this is that Typhlosion in the lead is not going to want to take Brine Storms, even if they end up debuffing us with Icy Wind. With that said, I still have to probably throw a full-on Sludge Wave if I want to knock them out here, which I rather would knock them out to make sure that we just guarantee switch. I don't want our Jumpluff anywhere near that Typhlosion. Sludge Wave ends up getting the knockout, and in comes that Typhlosion. I could throw a move here, but since I knew that I would throw on bad timing if I threw anytime soon, I'm going to let them throw their move first. I might even survive the Thunder Punch, get a move off anyway, and they have a Ferrothorn in the back. Okay, Ferrothorn is a bit of a tricky Pokemon for my team. I don't actually have a hard answer to this, and them swapping when they did actually makes it so now I'm in a bit of a tricky spot where Switch Clocks are desynced, and Ferrothorn is up a little bit of energy. With that said, they do need 2 charge moves against our Jumpluff to knock us out. Thunder is not going to be enough to 2-shot a full HP non-Shadow Jumpluff. Thunder is a strong move, but just not strong enough here. Aerial Ace is going to come through, get a shield, or get a lot of damage, rather, against them. I guess they're not going to shield just yet. I would imagine this is the matchup they probably want to shield because it is so strong against our Shadow Kingdra. There it is. This time they are going to end up shielding. And now since switch clocks are so desynced, they actually can swap out, get 2 Incinerates off against our Jumpluff here, but we can get an air release and maybe get a shield from them. Looks like that is exactly what's going to happen right now, and this game is going to be a little awkward because of that Ferrothorn still being alive in the backline. Ferrothorn is likely going to be the most tricky Pokemon to ever face with this team. I know Ferrothorn is not the most common Pokemon in the meta. Fire types destroy it, but if you ever run into one, it's a very tricky thing to see. They do end up going for the Thunder Punch there. I'm almost at the Outrage. If I can reach Outrage, then I'd be able to knock them out. But I don't know if they're just going to instant throw, so I'm going to go for the safe play, go for the Octazooka, try to go for a debuff, maybe chip them down, and we actually do get the debuff there. That's fantastic. I don't even think a Power Whip's going to knock us out from this range. We might even just be able to Dragon Breath all the way down against this Ferrothorn and take the win. Honestly, this Pokemon is very hard to deal with, but if you have it in the backline, it's so much easier than when it's in the lead. Alright, next game here, Shadow Kingdra into Shadow Alolan Marowak. Fantastically, we love seeing the fire types with our water and dragon type. They instantly swap out, though, to a Cradily, and I do have a pretty good answer here with our Jumpluff. I'm going to try to catch a Grass Knot if we can, and then see what they want to do. I ended up actually catching a Rock Slide here, though obviously Rock Slide wouldn't do that much to Kingdra, but it would have been enough to chip him down into range where the second one would knock out. So a good bait by our opponent, and also a very bad catch by me. With that said, we still are in range where they need a third Rock Slide to take us out before the Bullet Seed damage is going to knock us out here. And because they throw on bad timing, now I will be forced to shield this up, but I'm kind of fine with that. We have so much energy on our Shadow Kingdra that I'm fine kind of trading a shield here, keeping our Jumpluff around with a bit of energy, and maybe going and swapping out to Kingdra when they let us. Here comes the Energy Ball. Do they end up shielding it up? No, they don't, which gives us 1 extra Fairy Wind, and now we can come in Kingdra, go for the Octazooka against this Shadow Marowak, and see how they want to play it out. This is a super effective attack. It's not going to do too much, but it will do enough to put them into range where maybe an Air Release later on could win us this matchup. And what is this? That is a Cradily, or a Lileep rather, 2 Grass and Rock type Pokemon. That's a crazy team comp here. Luckily, our Kingdra is a fantastic Pokemon into anything that doesn't have a lot of fast food pressure. We can now go for an Octazooka, maybe get a debuff, maybe just get a ton of damage depending on what they want to do. They opt to shield it up, which we don't get the debuff, but that is fantastic because these fast moves are putting them into range where Air Release or maybe even just Poison Jabs at this point could finish off the match for us. Grass Knot does end up knocking us out here. I'm going to come in with our Jumpluff, go for an Air Release in just a second. I have back-to-back. They can't really shield this. If they do, then they are going to be able to be hit by another one in just a second here. Air Release does knock them out. In comes that Marowak. We have the Ace loaded once again, either drawing the shield or knocking them out. We have our Toxapex that, although taking super effective Bone Club damage, is going to take probably 2 or 3 of these before getting knocked out. Marowak not going to be anywhere near enough energy to get to those. But you're going to be able to survive these, and Marowak not going to be able to close out this game as much as our opponent likely would want it to. GG's to them. We'll see what our Shadow Kingdra can do here in the next one. Shadow Kingdra up against Abomasnow, another Ice-type Pokemon in the lead. This time the non-Shadow, though. The funny thing about this matchup is that the Shadow and non-Shadow honestly look like they take about the same amount of damage from Dragon Breath. Looks like this is yet another one running Weather Ball rather than Icy Wind, which is kind of interesting. Normally on the non-Shadow, you see Icy Wind a lot more commonly, but this is a Weather Ball one, which means they're spamming out moves a little bit quicker, but not debuffing our attack. I'm just going to once again Q-Shield Kingdra, farm all the way down, have almost 100 energy for the backline. What do they want to bring in here? It's going to be a Toxapex. That is a fantastic thing to see. That is what Outrage is meant for. If they let this go, I can go and either farm them down or go for an Octazooka in just a second. They do let it go, and because of that, I actually am able to even reach another Outrage. I've taken out basically 2 Pokemon with just 1 right now. As long as our backline isn't going to be met by a huge Core Breaker, we should be able to win the game. We even get a shield back here. Toxapex at 1 HP. I can absorb all of the damage on our own Toxapex, and that might just be the Core Breaker that we didn't want to see. Energy advantage, shield advantage, Morpeko against our Jumpluff. Yeah, this is not looking good. They're going to one-shot us with Aura Wheel with our Toxapex. They're going to two-shot our Jumpluff. Yeah, okay, well, that was looking so good up until it wasn't, but GG's to them. That was a fun backline to see, but not exactly what I wanted to see there. Next game, another Toxapex in the lead. As long as we're doing 3 damage with our Dragon Breath, this matchup is fantastic, and it looks like we are. Our damage is adding up way more than their damage is against us here. They do throw a charge move first, likely going to be a Sludge Wave. Honestly, though, I've been baited so many times that it's kind of crazy that I could probably call a bait. No, this time they do go for a Sludge Wave, but no, sometimes they go for the Brine, and whenever you call that, it's a fantastic situation to be in, but if you end up just no-shielding the Sludge Wave, it's a terrible spot to be in. We do end up getting the knockout here. In comes a Cradily, and now I know I can go for a very annoying play, where either I can bait the Outrage, or I can go for the Octazooka. I'm going to go for Octazooka. We draw a shield, and we get the debuff. That is the best case scenario. They're still forced to throw energy. They can't Bullet Seed us down before we get to another charge move, so our Kingdra doing so much work right now. Rock Slide does knock us out, and oh, it's another one of these teams with 2 of these Rock and Grass type Pokemon in the backline. With that said, they are in a very bad spot, because even though they have Rock type damage, we have a full health Toxapex that's going to be able to work its way through this matchup once Jumpluff gets all of these charge moves off. Energy Ball can get a debuff. It can also just do a lot of damage if they let it through. It does end up doing both, actually. It ends up putting them to range now where even just an Aerial Ace or two could knock them out. They are throwing Ancient Power as their charge move. Doesn't do too much damage to us. I'm just going to go for the guaranteed KO with this Energy Ball right now. I want to make sure that we can get shields down so our Toxapex can easily just tap the screen, go for Sludge Waves, and be in a good spot. And we even get to another Aerial Ace before they can throw another Ancient Power. This is looking so good for our Jumpluff. I think at this point, this game's basically unlosable. We just fast move this down, we Sludge Wave the Cradily, and we should have this game. I might even be able to get to another Aerial Ace here with our Jumpluff, which if we can, will put this into range even further, where we can just finish off this game with Toxapex. They end up actually catching the move on their Cradily, but that's fine. I mean, anyway, this damage is going to do quite a bit of work. I might even get to another one here if they let us. Dude, Jumpluff, calm down. What are you doing right now? Getting so much damage off here. Our opponent holding out hope that maybe I have a Mudboy in the backline right now. Luckily for me, though, it is not a Mudboy. It is a Toxapex, one of the best answers here to both of these Pokemon. We Poison Jab the rest of the Cradily down, and now we can Poison Jab all of the Lily. GG's to our opponent. Fantastic game. Next matchup, what are we going to see our Shadow Kingdra into? Another one of these Gastrodon leads, one of the most awkward leads I could really see here. Last time I went for Outrage and they ended up shielding it. Maybe this time I'll try to bait. It really just is a 50-50 on what you should actually do here. No matter what, though, you do have to shield these Body Slams. Mud Slap is adding up quite quickly, so I don't want to get in range where they can just fast move me down, because I do want to whittle this down so our Toxapex does not have to deal with it. Octazooka gonna come through. Does it end up getting shielded? No, this time they call it. That's terrible for us. Now we have to double shield if we want anything out of this matchup, which I guess I am going to do. I hate doing it against a Gastrodon like this, but it is going to be the play. They come in with... What is that? That is a Shadow Marowak with Hex. This is a very tricky call to make right now, but I'm going to come in with our Jumpluff. I know if they have Fire Blast, this is a huge mistake, but if this is a Bone Club and a Shadow Bone moveset, then this is probably the best spot that my Jumpluff is going to have left in the game. That's because they had a Gastrodon lead, right? That likely means that we have almost no play in the backline, whatever it is, with our Jumpluff. I need to get it out of the way now, and because of that Gastrodon lead, I bet my Toxapex is going to have quite a bit of play in the back. We end up taking the Bone Club, or the Shadow Bone rather, and then another one's going to come through. We survive it pretty easily, we get to another Ace, and this is looking kind of okay for us right now. As long as the backline Pokemon is not a hard answer to our Toxapex, we should be able to win. That's not a hard answer, but that is scary, actually. That's an Ember Charizard of all things. If they can get to the 2 Blast Burns, and I mean, I don't really know how much damage a Blast Burn does to a Toxapex, but if it can knock us out, they might actually end up winning this game. I hope that's not the case, because I would absolutely love to have made the call where I came in Jumpluff against a Fire type and still won the game. We'll have to see what's going to happen, though. What is this going to do to us? It's going to be a Blast Burn coming through. That's a lot of damage, and they are going to be able to get the next move right now. I didn't know my Ember to Blast Burn counts. Apparently, it's 988. If I would have known that at the moment, I could have caught the move and still had a chance here. Kingdra not able to get the Dragon Breath down just barely. That was a crazy one. Almost made the read of my lifetime, but they just barely edged out the game. Next matchup here, a Shadow Kingdra up against a Shadow Alolan Grimer with Rock Throw, it looks like. That's an interesting Pokemon to see. I have a lot of Dragon Breath damage here. Looks like I would be able to win the 2-shield matchup. The longer this goes on, my fast moves are going to add up more than theirs, but this damage is adding up quickly against us right now. In comes a Decidueye, and the second that I came in with my Jumpluff here, I realized this could have Brave Bird. This could one-shot me. I'm going to have to respect that, because I don't want to let our Jumpluff go. I feel like if they had a Rock-type Pokemon in the lead, a Grass-type in the back, this is very reminiscent of a very old team in the Go Battle League where you have Bastion, Shadow Vic. So if that's the kind of team we're facing right now, I want to keep our Grass-type alive, or Flying-type alive, that is, and see what we can do here. If they come back in with that Graveler, then I'm going to be able to go for an Energy Ball, try to get a knockout, because if they let an Aerial Ace go, they probably survive it. Rock takes nothing, well, Rock and Electric rather, takes nothing from that move. They do end up letting it go, and there is a second Grass type in the back. Who would have thought? Not really the one I was thinking. I thought it might be like a Razor Leafer in the back line, but a Jumpluff is still a fantastic Pokemon to see. We have a lot of damage with our Aerial Ace, and we also have access to a ton of damage with Poison Jab. We even have some energy on our Shadow Kingdra if we wanted to debuff this thing later on. At this point, there's not much they can do, and Ace doesn't even knock us out yet, and we end up catching it just to show that our Toxapex is in the backline. Maybe they'll realize at this point the game is basically over. Yeah, they do. Toxapex able to close out the backline. Next matchup, Shadow Kingdra up against a Poliwrath once again. Kind of surprised how many Poliwraths I've seen. I don't really know what it beats in this meta, but it is going to be an interesting Pokemon to see. Another one of these Poliwrath Magnezone teams, actually. I have Energy Ball. It's going to do quite a bit of damage to them. Probably not going to get the 2-shot against the non-Shadow. We'll have to see what's going to happen here, though. Yeah, not quite enough damage here to 2-shot them this time. With that said, I know after a debuff, it would be enough to take them out, especially with the Fairy Wind damage. I know that Jumpluff if it lands this move, could flip switch. They do end up letting that move go, and because I want to get my Toxapex against that Poliwrath, I'm fine investing a shield here. They will reach 2 wild charges, but it does take 2 moves to knock us out, so by shielding 1, I can then Fairy Wind all the way down, and maybe I'll be in a good spot. They do end up landing the next Volt Switch here, which chips us down a little bit more, and in the backline going to be a more Pekko. That's not what you want to see. I was hoping I could reach 2 Aerial Aces here to chip this thing down, but I could only reach 1 charge move. It's going to be the Energy Ball, but this is a big energy lead. Once again, when more Pekko starts ramping up, it starts getting very tricky to deal with. If they can end up outpacing me damage-wise to be able to reach 2 more Aura Wheels this game, 1 against my Toxapex and 1 here against my Kingdra, they might just have me. They end up throwing the charge move. I just know there's no way this is a 5 poison jab range. I was going to say, if I could farm this down with Toxapex, maybe I could still win this one, but no, there's no chance here. At this point, I'll just let my opponent have it. They have the Aura Wheel ready to go. How often do you get to see a Toxapex get one shot? Not too often. I guess we get to see it now. Unfortunately, it's my own Toxapex getting destroyed, but GG's to our opponent. Next matchup here, Shadow Kingdra up against a Talonflame, one of the best lead matchups that we could possibly see. We take nothing from Fire-type damage. They end up instantly swapping out to Charge Bug, and because I know I have Toxapex in the backline, I could care less about switch advantage. I just need this Charge Bug out of the way. We're going to come in with our Jumpluff because of that. Jumpluff actually is a pretty good answer here, especially after the Dragon Breath damage that I've got against them. They're basically in a range where 2 Aerial Aces should be enough to knock them out. We'll have to see how they want to play it out, though. They do go for the next X-Scissor. I'm not quite in range where the third X-Scissor would knock us out, but the Volt Switches will put us close to range very soon. We have the first Ace loaded, and they are going to let it go. I'm very close to the next one here. Throw it on good timing to make sure we don't give a full Volt Switch through, and if they end up shielding this, I'm kind of fine just letting our Jumpluff go. I don't care about switch advantage. Once again, all I need right now is an energy lead on Shadow Kingdra or Toxapex. They do opt to throw the charge move here, and now I have a decision to make. I'm going to come in instant with Shadow Kingdra and try to go for the farm down. Our opponent reveals their final Pokemon as a Toxapex, and that is exactly what I want to see. I can likely reach 2 moves before they can farm us all the way down, so I'm just going to go straight Outrage here. They opt to let it go. They tried to call the bait, but Shadow Outrage nearly one-shotting the Toxapex. That is as much damage as you could ever hope for against them. Who are they going to come in with? Charge Bug's not going to be able to reach a move, and Talonflame at this point is against a Water and Dragon-type Pokemon. Octazooka already going to be reached. Can this get a debuff? Unfortunately not this time, but I have my Toxapex in the backline that no matter what will be able to close out this game. We barely don't reach that final Octazooka here, but that's fine. They have a lot of energy, but we can come in with our Toxapex and win the game. Very fun sets here today, running this Shadow Kingdra. Honestly, it's a Pokemon you don't see too often in a lot of metas, but in the metas where it is good, it just pops off so much. And the only bad thing about it is the fact that it's so hard to have one. Mine that I caught was from 2021. As far as I can tell, that's about the last time it was available. This Pokemon is very hard to get, but if you have one, in this meta, it's basically the best Pokemon you can use. Alright, well thank you so much for watching today's video. If you want to see my battles live, I stream almost every single day at twitch.tv/ItsAXN, where you can see live insights into my gameplay and see my teams early. I'd love to see you there. The link to that is in the description. And if you want to see more videos like this, please make sure to subscribe. Thank you again for watching, take care, and I'll see you in the next one.